Okay, ready to dive into something a little, well, maybe a little personal.
Let's do it. No judgment here.
We're talking about sexually transmitted infections. And before anyone tunes out thinking, not my problem, stick around.
Seriously, this is relevant to everyone, whether you realize it or not.
Right, so let's get specific. Today, we're really digging into gonorrhea, an infection that's honestly more important than most people realize.
It's true, and unfortunately, it often gets kind of brushed aside, maybe because the name sounds a bit funny, but trust me, the implications are anything but funny.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. When we talk about STIs, we're talking about a range of infections, right? There's like, what, the big eight or something?
Yeah, exactly. And some are curable, some are not. But regardless, they have a huge impact. I mean, we're talking a global health issue here.
And a huge economic one too, right? I read somewhere that in the U.S. alone, untreated STIs cost like billions of dollars a year.
It's insane, right? Think about the cost of treatment, the lost productivity, the strain on healthcare systems. It adds up.
Wow. So let's zero in on our star, or maybe I should say, our villain of the day, and gonorrhea. Sounds like something out of Star Wars.
Right. It even looks kind of like a tiny coffee bean under the microscope, those little paired cells we call diplococci.
Coffee bean-shaped bacteria. Okay, I'll remember that. So it causes gonorrhea. What else makes this little guy, this bacterium, unique?
Well, one big thing is that humans are its only hosts. It can't survive for very long outside the human body.
So it's completely dependent on us to spread.
Exactly, which is actually a good thing in a way, because it means if we could somehow interrupt transmission, we could theoretically eradicate it.
Theoretically.
Mm.
But that's easier said than done, I'm guessing.
Way easier. See, and this is where things get tricky. Gonorrhea is often a silent spreader, especially in women.
Silent. What do you mean?
Many people, especially women, experience very mild symptoms or even none at all. They might not even know they have it.
Wow, so they could be spreading it without even realizing it.
Exactly. And that, my friend, is one of the big reasons why STIs, including gonorrhea, are so prevalent.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's say someone wants to get tested. How do they even know if they have this sneaky infection?
Good question. So there are a few ways to diagnose gonorrhea. There are nucleic acid amplification tests, which are super sensitive but don't tell us the whole story.
Don't tell the whole story.
Right, they just tell us that the bacteria's DNA is present, not if it's alive and kicking. That's where cultures come in.
Cultures, like growing it in a petri dish.
You got it. Remember those coffee bean shapes? With a culture, we can actually see the bacteria grow.
Okay, so that's pretty definitive then.
It is. And there's another crucial reason we do cultures: antimicrobial susceptibility testing.
Antimicrobial. Say that again?
Basically, it means we test which antibiotics will effectively kill the bacteria. And this is more important now than ever.
Why is that?
Well, here's the uh-oh moment. Gonorrhea is notorious for developing resistance to antibiotics. It's like a tiny supervillain constantly evolving to outsmart our weapons.
No way. So the antibiotics we've always used might not work anymore. That's kind of scary.
It is concerning. Thankfully, we're staying ahead of the game, at least for now. Currently, we're using combination therapy. We basically hit the bacteria with multiple antibiotics at once, which makes it much harder for it to develop resistance.
Phew, that's good to hear. But still, it's a little unsettling, to think this thing is out there, constantly changing, becoming more powerful.
It definitely highlights the importance of staying informed, getting tested regularly, and practicing safe sex.
Absolutely. So to recap, what we've learned today is that gonorrhea is more common than we might think, often flies under the radar, and is becoming increasingly resistant to the treatments we've relied on.
Right, and that brings up a pretty big question. What happens if, or maybe I should say, when this resistance gets even worse? What if we reach a point where our current antibiotics just don't cut it anymore? That's something to think about.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely something to ponder.